What's up, everybody? This is Brian here to tell you about our podcast, Bingetown TV. Our hosts include 7 best friends with a love for all things television. We cover a range of genres with a focus on fantasy and sci-fi, but also dip our feet into drama, horror, comedy, and pretty much anything we think is good television. We use the traditional deep dive formula for new live shows that are released week to week, but our calling card is our Rooks and Vets and Pitchtown TV series. Rooks and Vets pairs 2 of our hosts that have seen a show with 2 of our hosts that have not seen a show. Pitchtown TV is when we have a special guest pitch us a show by having us watch the pilot and trying to convince us to watch the rest. If you're craving more content on some of your favorite TV shows, then you should listen to Bingetown TV. Find us on our website at bingetowntv.com, the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, or wherever else you may find your podcast.
There's a party each and every year on Christmas Eve, where the fun and cocktail shrimp don't seem to end. Clark and Ralphie taking turns on the TV screen, laughing, singing, yelling with all of our friends. Well, it's Christmas, and everybody's gonna spread the holiday cheer.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Matt. Dude, still looking at you.
Yeah.
Still in person.
Seeing
I can
you.
still caress that beautiful face of yours.
All right, so.
I was going to sing Seal's Kiss from a Rose. Now, baby!
All right, so you picked this topic.
Yeah.
Best depictions of the North Pole.
Of the North Pole. I think, like, if it's not just Santa, it's the North Pole in general that kind of evokes that Christmas feeling.
Yeah.
And I think some movies have done it really well. I think some movies have done it not so well.
So because I feel like this is going to be a fairly short episode.
Yeah, probably.
Let's talk about what we just did before recording.
Okay.
Because you saw a shirt that
Yeah.
you
Oh
desperately
my
want us
God.
to co-op.
All right, so this morning we went out to an Amish market and basically we saw a shirt that says, I do it for the hose, and it's got a picture of Santa Claus on it. So what I want to do is I think eventually we're going to get some Christmas 365 merch for all of our fans and us included, and it's going to have our beautiful cartoon faces on it. I think it's going to say we do it for the hose.
I love it. All right, so we got that out of our system.
Yes, that's the end of the the end of the immature bit on the podcast.
Vote hose yes. Hashtag hose yes to let us know that
we'll make it happen. We'll Tusk too.
So I got a joke one. And
Okay.
I think you have a joke one too. I'm gonna say my joke one
It's not a
first.
joke. It's my favorite one.
I've got 2 joke ones, and I think one of them is yours. So that's
Okay.
why I'm gonna go.
All right, go
I'll say
first.
one, then I'll let you take the
Yeah.
other, and then if it's not the one that I thought I stole from you, then I'll go again.
Yeah, go for it.
I want to enjoy the North Pole as depicted by the opening scene of the movie Scrooged, where it's getting fucking missile bombed, and the $6 million man comes rolling in, and like all of the elves are packing, like they just
Oh my God.
have like a trunk filled with fucking guns ready to go.
That's amazing.
Oh my God, that is. I think that because the
That's like one of my favorite parts of Scrooge. Honestly.
Oh my God. Well, because I think that like before the bombing happens,
Yeah.
it's it's how you want to imagine the North Pole, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
It's like this quaint little shack, just a bunch of elves running around doing their thing. But then like the explosion happens and they're just like locked and loaded and ready to fight. Like
It's
I
funny
love
because it reminds me of the scene, and this movie's going to come up a little bit later, in the Santa Claus where Tim Allen is pitching the toys.
Yeah.
And he's in that room and they're talking about Santa the Tank Man.
Yeah.
He comes in with the tank. It's so good because that's what I pictured. I mean, they represent similar situations where they're trying to
for sure.
commercialize Christmas, basically.
Yeah.
Which it already has become commercialized,
Yeah.
but
And, no, not until literally 1988 when they made Scrooge and people were like, oh, we can commercialize this?
yeah.
What's your joke?
Mine is it's not my joke one. This is where I really want to be. My North Pole as depicted by John Carpenter in The Thing.
Okay, so I didn't steal yours.
That's my favorite depiction of the North Pole.
Just fucking a frozen tundra filled with fear. So, did you ever watch the X-Files? Side note?
Not really. So when I was a kid, one episode of the X-Files came on. I had seen bits and pieces. I know what the X-Files is. I've seen clips. But there was one episode that I caught as a kid where this guy was in like a porta potty or something, and the porta potty flips, and they pull his body out, and half of his head is fucking caved in.
Mm-hmm.
And that image has stuck with me so long that I never watched it
So-
because that fucked me up. I would love to go back. Does it hold up? Like, could I go back and watch X-Files right now?
I remember the X-Files being a really popular show.
Yeah.
And I would watch it, but I think for the most part, I would just watch the cold open and theme song and then be like, all right, now I'm going to bed. My friend Nicole fucking loves the X-Files.
Okay.
And I own every season on DVD, and it became like a background noise. Like, I just put it on, but I wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah.
So I was like, here's the deal. Like, always trying to come up with like ways to hang out with people.
Okay.
So it was like once a month or so, she'll come over, we'll order dinner, and we'll watch a disc. But the reason I ask is that there's an episode that you would really like called Ice.
Okay.
Which is literally the X-Files does the thing. Where Mulder and Scully go to this like area where it's these people in a snow-capped area, and there's some type of viral alien. Not so much the mutation, but it's like if it scratches you or anything, it gets into your bloodstream, and then you're also infected by this alien virus.
That sounds so cool.
So it's pretty cool. They do the thing very well. So I literally just watched that episode last week, so I'm like, oh, that episode's fresh in my brain.
I fucking love The Thing. But
It's
no,
so
that's
good.
not technically the North Pole. But it's
close enough.
Was that the North Pole or was that the South Pole? I can't remember where they are.
I don't really care. I think it was a good answer, so I'm just going to
Thanks,
accept
buddy.
it.
Appreciate you. All right, what is your other quote unquote joke pick?
1955's The Santa Claus movie, where it's like a hellscape prison filled with stolen children from all around the world
Holy
that Santa's
shit, I don't
hiring.
think I've ever seen this.
I saw this through Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Okay.
It's a Mexican movie where it's Santa Claus, and Santa's version is that he lives in heaven. So he's up in the clouds.
All right.
And he has
Saint Nick.
He has a giant telescope that's an eyeball that dangles and watches everybody from the clouds.
Yeah.
And then he also has a gigantic ear that he can lower above the earth and listen in on people's conversations and make sure they're not saying anything inappropriate. But instead of elves, he just has children from every country in the world building what those children would want from those countries. And his reindeer, it's horrifying. His reindeer
like
are
those.
remote like crank toys.
Yeah.
So there's this scene. It is without a doubt my favorite moment in any episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000, because they have this reindeer and it's just kind of like stationary, and then he shoves a giant key in it and cranks the key to turn it on, and it just starts moving its head up and down going, ah!
like a fucking Disney animatronic.
Yeah, it's like real awkward, but they don't even make jokes.
Yeah.
The robots and Joel are just going, they're like, they're like so unnerved by how horrifying it is.
I know it's like, honestly, when you think about it, this could be any version of Santa Claus, but I don't like any depiction of Santa Claus that makes it seem like he's watching you while you're masturbating. So
Yeah, no.
And that's that one. Exactly. You always got to be wondering, Santa's watching you in the shower.
That's my worry with ghosts. I'm always nervous. I'm like, my aunt died here. Does she see every time that I do anything in this house?
Yeah, you give me a sign, any sign at all.
All right, let's get to the real ones, though.
All right, so I want to talk about our favorite depictions of the North Pole. I also want to talk about, not jokingly, our least favorite depictions of the North Pole. Do you have least favorite depictions? I don't want to put you on the spot.
I don't think I have a least favorite. I actually, what's embarrassing is you were listing so many Christmas movies downstairs.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing that, I don't watch that many Santa Claus Christmas movies.
No, you watch some bullshit Christmas movies.
I watch a lot of, what? I think for me, a lot of it is I think it's just for me, Santa it's nice to, I like to believe that there's a Santa, like,
Yeah.
you go into that whole thing. But for me, like, when I'm watching Christmas, I want It's a Wonderful Life. I want,
I
like,
get that.
I
I
want
get
those
that.
feel good movies where it's like the message is like being with the people that you love
Yeah.
is Christmas.
And I love that, but I'm a huge fan of the tackiness of Christmas as
Yeah.
well. Like I love fucking.
I mean, I watched those
Old-
Netflix originals. We were
Oh,
talking
I know,
about that.
but like what I mean is like I used to do Busch Gardens every year for their Christmas Town celebration, and if you go into the USA portion of Busch Gardens in Williamsburg during Christmas, it's just those tacky fucking plastic Santa heads.
Yeah, no, I love
like
that
the
shit, yeah.
Coca-Cola Santa bottle. Like I mean,
That sounds great.
that's my favorite. That's my favorite shit about Christmas. But I do love the stuff that you're talking about.
I
as
want,
well.
look, if I was to decorate outside for Christmas time, which I
Yeah.
currently don't, the most, I'll throw up the tree, I'll put up some stuff inside. I just don't want to deal with, especially if it gets
totally
snowy.
fucking get it.
But if I was to decorate out front,
yeah.
I would want to get the fucking, like, 1970s plastic, like, nativity scene and plastic Santa.
Dude, we still have that. My
That
parents
stuff's
still
so
have
great.
that.
The giant candles, like
Yep. Yep.
there has never been a Christmas decor that brings more joy into my heart than
Yeah.
seeing those plastic light up figures. Like I'm just like when I pass houses that have them, I'm like, oh.
So we need to fix them because my parents have the nativity scene. I still believe it's the like the Mary's in blue and Joseph's in pink and baby Jesus.
You got
is
the
wrapped
three
in the
wise
cloth. Yep,
men.
exactly.
Yeah, that's the one.
So my parents still have that one, and they never put it up. My parents don't do a lot of outside decorating. The most they do is they do that the cheating one where they put the lights in the ground that just
Fuck
shine
that.
on the.
I'd rather have nothing. I would rather have nothing on my house than the fucking, like, if
I
you're.
will say that some of them have evolved into like cool like images and
No,
shit that
and-
change. Like that stuff's kind of cool.
Here's my thing.
Okay.
As an additional piece to something,
Okay.
love it.
All right.
Great.
But if that's all
As
you
it being
have-
your only setup, come on. You can't even
I
throw
mean,
some tinsel somewhere.
Yeah,
Like,
so that's my parents. But
I'm gonna start decorating that front window. I think
Dude,
next
do it.
year.
That's
because,
awesome.
Because that's my other thing is like not that I think anyone's gonna fucking roll in and wreck any shit.
Yeah.
But I go outside so rarely that if they did steal shit, I wouldn't know for
wouldn't
days.
notice. No. What's funny? Jason from Icon versus Icon. He has like a front window that's perfect, and he's got the fragile lamp from
Yeah,
A
yeah.
Christmas Story on display, and it's a really nice setup. At my house, we don't do. I have some of those blow up things that
Yeah.
I would put out, but they're the easiest thing for me to throw up. I haven't been in this house long enough and in a stable mindset enough
Yeah.
to put like lights up outside. I'm hoping by next year, like I'm down for it.
You know what I loved this year?
Yeah.
The people who bought those like 7-foot tall skeletons and then were
And-
just
and
like,
then,
fucking,
yeah.
I gotta decorate this shit
Hell
for
yeah,
Christmas.
'cause
I'm
that
not
thing's
taking
like
this down.
$300.
Yeah, they're like, I'm getting my goddamn money's worth out of this giant skeleton.
Yeah, but you're talking about the candles. We have the candles at the house, and the problem is that I got to rewire them because like the wiring's all fucked up. I bought them from a flea market for like $2 a piece.
Yeah, why not?
So-
I mean, that's what I'm gonna. If I see them in a flea market, that'll be the one outdoor decor is that
Hell
I
yeah.
put
Those
that
candles
together.
are awesome. They're like the big red
Yeah,
ones.
with
They
the-
say Noel on the
Yeah,
side.
yep, those are the ones.
All right, so
Yeah, so
North
hit me with some
Poles,
of yours because I only got one North Pole.
You only
that I
got
wanna
one
wrap.
North Pole that
Yeah,
you want to talk about. So I'm gonna start off with North Poles that like either don't make sense to me or that I'm not a big fan of.
Okay.
Polar Express.
Yeah.
That is the creepiest fucking North Pole.
That's a creepy movie.
representation.
I don't trust people
at
that
all.
people who tell me Polar Express is their favorite Christmas movie. Like they're serial killers.
I like Polar Express. I do like it, but I think it means something different to me than it does by people that only watched it like by themselves.
Yeah.
So we would, when I worked at an elementary school, when I was an assistant, around Christmas time, we would do like a pajama Polar Express day.
Yeah.
And everybody come in and like their onesies and shit, and we'd all eat popcorn and watch Polar Express, and then we'd read it too and everything. So that's kind of what that movie means to me. Is it like
it's a memory
symbolizes-
of all
exactly.
of those things. Yeah.
So that's cool, but even like just when they get to the North Pole, it's been built up so much that like this is a magical place. It's a fucking ghost town.
Yeah.
The North Pole and the Polar Express is a fucking ghost town, and they get there and Santa's fucking creepy as hell, creepy Tom Hanks. piles and piles of elves everywhere. Like it's fucking weird.
Yeah.
It is weird. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if you remember this, fucking Aerosmith shows up
Well, why wouldn't they?
and starts playing at the end. It doesn't make any sense. So my number one least favorite.
Is that not
North
in the
Pole-
book?
yeah, I don't think Steven Tyler made it into the book version of Polar Express.
The last book just has like the lyrics to Dream On and Dude Looks Like a Lady.
Oh God, I can't remember what he's singing. I think it's like a cover of "Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree."
I'm
or
sure
something.
it's some bullshit, but
Yeah, and I like Aerosmith.
I
so-
enjoy Aerosmith. You know, when there's something wild, I had a
What?
friend who did not like Aerosmith.
I have a friend like that.
Oh, no, I'm not done.
I don't talk to him anymore.
Then he
Just
went
kidding.
to Disneyland and rode the
Fuck
rock and
yeah,
roller
dude.
coaster. And then he was like the biggest Aerosmith fan I've ever met. And I'm like, but you
Holy
already
shit.
know these songs.
Am I your friend? Because that happened to me as a kid. So like I always had liked Aerosmith, but two things turned me on to loving Aerosmith. And they're so fucking weird. And it's back to Dylan being weird and tying like connections to things that don't have connections. Number one was Rock and Roller Coaster.
Okay.
Fucking loved Rock and Roller Coaster when I went. It was that. And as soon as I got off the ride, the store at the end.
Yeah,
had-
they used to
had
have
a
all the
double-
albums.
Yeah, and they had
Little
a double.
South of Sanity.
Yep, they
Yep.
had a double pack called "Oh Yeah," and it was a double pack of just all of their greatest hits. Like I mean, hits that spanned from the '70s all the way up to like the big album releases now.
Here's a big defense I have for Aerosmith is there
Yeah.
are a few bands that I can think of that were able to have hits in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, but also like when the Rolling Stones was having hits in the 90s, they
Yeah.
still sounded like the Rolling Stones of the 70s.
Yeah.
Aerosmith managed to like kind of seamlessly blend into
Yeah.
what the style was at the time a little
and
bit.
they stayed rocking.
Yeah.
Like, as cheesy as that sounds. So that was my number one, was riding that ride hundreds of times and then buying that CD. Number two, Be Cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man, Aerosmith popped up in a lot
Yeah,
of
they
fucking
did.
movies. They knew how to
Fucking Be
market
Cool.
themselves.
I loved Get Shorty and Be Cool.
I-
I thought those movies were fucking great. But
I
I love
probably-
movies about the industry.
I've
So-
probably watched Be Cool more than I've watched Get Shorty, even though I know that Get Shorty is a better of the two
and
movies.
That's the thing.
But
Like, it's one of those things where Get Shorty is a better movie. I like Be Cool more.
that was also early rock.
Yeah.
Like that was early that was-
rock, because he played the gay bodyguard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Early rock, I thought fucking Andre 3000 was amazing in that
Yeah,
movie.
it's a good
Cedric
movie.
the Entertainer.
Man, we're really off on
Vince
the
Vaughn.
North Pole stuff. Sorry.
What
So-
I'm saying is, it's fucking weird that Aerosmith showed up in the Polar Express.
All right, so what's the other? 'Cause you
Um,
said there was at least two that you were
At
like, I
least
gotta
two
mention.
least favorites. Wow, the other one I'm blanking on. Polar Express. Fuck Polar Express.
Okay, that's-
I have more North Poles that I like than
Okay.
North Poles that I.
I'll
dislike.
I'll
So,
say my big one
Go your
because
big
I'm
one.
sure it's on your list.
Go
I'll
for
just
it.
get it. Elf. I am
Elf,
so
yeah, that's a
charmed
good
by
one.
the world of Elf. I want to imagine my North Pole where you've got, Santa with his elves, but also like just outside are a bunch of fucking claymation
Claymation
characters
creatures,
walking
yeah.
around. Like I love that. I that is the aesthetic that I want. If I went a trip to the North Pole and there's not some claymation snowman talking to me,
Yeah.
and some like fucking claymation penguins just like scurrying around,
Yeah.
I don't want to be there.
So, I love Elf's depiction of it. It's also nice that Ralphie is one of the elves.
Yeah, no, that works for me.
My big one, my favorite one, is the original Santa Claus.
Okay.
When they show up, when it's Tim Allen, what's his name? Scott Calvin. Scott Calvin and Charlie show up after delivering toys the first night, and they're so confused. And that one elf just comes out, and the pole pops up, and like he's like, "Shh, it's gonna be all right," and hits the button, and the fucking North Pole just appears.
That is
Oh,
sweet.
That brings such a tear to my eye. And my problem, I have a lot of problems with Santa Claus 2 and 3, but that magic was kind of ruined because they turned it into almost like it's this city that's always here.
Yeah.
Like where the North Pole to me, as a kid, I don't know if this was something all kids thought, but I just thought it was a fucking pole. Like,
Yeah.
there was a fucking pole there. And like the city was somewhere hidden, like it wasn't there. Where I like the idea that the North Pole in the Santa Claus 1 is like, it's just a big toy workshop. And we've got some other buildings, but that's what this is. It's just that. Whereas Santa Claus 2 and 3, it was like, look, it's a fucking village, and I don't know, there's something different about it. I like the aesthetic of it, but I feel like some of the magic was lost in 2 and 3. But that's the movies in general. 2, not as much as 3. 2 has its moments. 3 is garbage.
Yeah,
Santa Claus
2
3 is awful, and I hate that they're doing more because of God.
2 I enjoy for one reason and one reason alone, which is Robot Scott Calvin horrific. He is absolutely nightmare fuel, and I love it for him.
It is cool that like we got Bernard back.
Yeah,
for 2.
No, we did. All right, hit me with some. Would you say that on the least favorites would be
probably
Santa Claus 2 and 3?
2 and 3, more so 3. Like, your North Pole should not be easy to convince people that it's a toy factory.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be that easy. Even though it is technically a toy factory, it's a magical one. Like, it shouldn't be easily convincing. So yeah, 2 and 3 definitely on my lower list. 1 is probably my number 1 favorite. Elf is up there too. Arthur Christmas. We were talking about that one earlier. Even though the North Pole in Arthur Christmas feels very lonely, almost, because they're all in that like big building. I like the science behind it.
Yeah.
It kind of gives an explanation with how we can make these things work. I like that every single thing had an explanation and all of these elves were working together. I also love that movie in general.
Yeah.
Arthur Christmas is one of my favorites, and we're definitely going to have to do like a deep dive on Arthur Christmas.
All right, because I genuinely don't know if I've watched it, and if I did, I don't remember anything about it.
Arthur Christmas,
so.
if you haven't watched it, is a great British cartoon.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. I turned like 2 or 3 people onto it this year,
all right.
and they like messaged me later. Great recommendation.
We'll tackle that sometime in 20.
If you're listening to this and you haven't watched Arthur Christmas, definitely watch it. And honestly, it's gonna be one of those ones that I say don't watch it right now.
Yeah.
Wait till you get closer to the season, and treat yourself to some Arthur Christmas with a nice cup of hot cocoa.
Love it.
Do you have any more? Any other North Poles? Or are you like, I just can't think of any North Poles?
I just keep thinking of ridiculous ones. Like,
okay, go for it.
Like one of the ones I was like, I don't know, the North Pole from Big Mouth, where there's just a whole lot of fucking and a perverted Rudolph. Hit me with one more.
Oh my
we'll do
God.
one more.
Fuck. North Pole.
I mean, you got 3 in there.
I know. We talked about this a little bit downstairs. You said you had never seen it.
Fred Claus.
Kind of Fred Claus, yeah. It's a good representation of the North Pole. It leans very heavy on the same thing that Santa Claus 2 and 3 did, where it's like, this is just a big city that celebrates Christmas.
I kind of like that, even in like something like Noel. You know what I mean? Like I like the idea, because what I don't want for my North Pole is Santa and Mrs. Claus just alone with a bunch of elves 363 days out of the year.
Yeah, I get that.
That's like a really lonely existence. I like the idea.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they have friends and they have family members, and everyone's like tied to the Christmas thing in some way.
It's so funny because there's a big difference between the way that Arthur Christmas did it, which is very much like that.
Yeah.
And like a Rankin Bass.
Yeah, Rankin Bass is literally just like,
like,
and Santa's depicted as having enough of the bullshit with these fucking elves. They're like, we wrote this song about you, and he's like, God damn it, get it over with. I know. We are Santa's elves. He's like, yeah, okay, I got it.
Yep, so much so that they made a whole movie about Santa being like, fuck you guys, I'm not going out.
I am done with this.
Yeah, I'm going to take a year off of this shit.
Dude, do not ever want to live in the Rankin Bass world. There's nothing appealing about it.
No,
they're bullies.
Like, there's certain ones where like they'll kill you if you have toys. There's Rankin Bass, as much as I love some of those early specials, probably one of my least favorites. But even saying all of that, it's not like I hate these depictions of the North Pole. They're just like my least favorite. There's no depiction of the North Pole. I'm like, fuck, that's stupid.
Maybe the Polar Express.
I ironically, I like it. It is one of my least favorites, but ironically, I'm like,
Nothing says Christmas like showing up and hearing like love is an elevator, living it up right now, living in the city.
When I met you,
Don't get it. Shut up and dance. I'm surprised you haven't pulled some bullshit where you're like, we're going to do an episode about Aerosmith because they appeared in Polar Express, and now every Christmas I need to listen to my Aerosmith's greatest hits album.
you're an asshole because that is totally some shit I would do. Dude, Wayne's World makes me think of Christmas.
Dream on, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, you're not killing this yet. You're not cutting me off, fucker. Don't sit there and try to cut me off after fucking. I just said Wayne's World makes me think of Christmas. But walk this way, Matt.
Oh, whoa, oh, now we won't stop till the big ball drops on New Year's. Have a happy holiday, have a great holiday, have a merry happy holiday.
Hey, do you have an idea for a podcast but don't know where to start? Or do you have an already existing podcast that you want to take to the next level? Well, check out WeKnowPodcasting.com. From concept development to theme music to editing to logos, WeKnowPodcasting.com is a one-stop shop for all things pod. Don't hesitate to hit us up. We're very nice.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.